हेलो माय डियर फ्रेंड्स, कैसे हैं आप लोग। हम स्टार्ट करेंगे चैप्टर नंबर 2 फ्रॉम द बुक थीफ रिटन बाय मार्कस यूजैक। चैप्टर 2, ग्रोइंग अप अ Saumensch. Yes, an illustrious career. I should hasten to admit, however, that there was a considerable hiatus between the first stolen book and the second. Another noteworthy point is that the first was stolen from snow and the second from fire, not to omit that others were also given to her. All up, she owned 14 books, but she saw her story as being made up predominantly of 10 of them. Of those 10, 6 were stolen, one showed up at the kitchen table, 2 were made for her by a hidden Jew, and one was delivered by a soft yellow dressed afternoon. When she came to write her story, she would wonder exactly when the books and the words started not just to mean something, but everything. Was it when she first set eyes on the room with shelves and shelves on them? Or when Max Vanderburg arrived on Himmel Street carrying handfuls of suffering and Hitler's main camp? Was it reading in the shelters, the last parade of to Dachau? Was it thus word shaker? Perhaps there will never be a precise answer as to when and where it occurred. In any case, that's getting ahead of myself. Before we make it to any of that, we first need to tour Liesel Memminger's beginnings on Himmel Street and the art of Saumensch. Upon her arrival, you could still see the bite marks of snow on her hands and the frosty blood on her fingers. Everything about her was undernourished. Wire like shins, thanger arms, she did not produce it easily, but when it came, she had a starving smile. Her hair was a close enough brand of German blonde, but she had dangerous eyes, dark brown. You didn't really want brown eyes in Germany around that time. Perhaps she received them from her father, but she had no way of knowing as she couldn't remember him. There was really only one thing she knew about her father. I was a label she did not understand. A strange word. Communist. She had heard it several times in the past few years. There were boarding houses crammed with people, rooms filled with questions, and that strange word was also always there somewhere, standing in the corner, watching from the dark. It wore suits, uniforms. No matter where they went, there it was. Each time her father was mentioned, when she asked her mother what it meant, she was told it wasn't important, that she shouldn't worry about such things. At one boarding house, there was a healthier woman who tried to teach the children to write using charcoal on the wall. Liesel was tempted to ask her the word's meaning, but it never eventuated. One day, that woman was taken away for questioning. She didn't come back. When Liesel arrived in Molching, she had at least some inkling that was being saved, but that was not a comfort. If her mother loved her, why leave her on someone else's doorstep? Why? The fact that she knew the answer, if only at the most basic level, she seemed beside the point. Her mother was constantly sick and there was never any money to fix her. She knew that, but that didn't mean she had to accept it. No matter how many times she told that she was loved, there was no recognition that the proof was in the abandonment. Nothing changed the fact that she was lost. Skinny Child is another foreign place with more foreign people alone. The Habermans lived in one of the small black houses on Himmel Street. A few rooms, a kitchen, and an outhouse shared with neighbors. The roof was flat and there was a shallow basement for storage. It was not a basement of adequate depth. In 1939, this wasn't a problem. Later, in 42 and 43, it was when air raids started. They always needed to rush down the street to a better shelter. In the beginning, it was the profanity that made the greatest impact. It was so vehement and prolific. Every second word was either Saumensch or Soccer or Arschloch. For people who aren't familiar with these words, I should explain. So, of course, so means of course, refers to pigs. In the case of Saumensch, it serves to castigate, berate, or plain humiliate a female. A sokol, pronounced sokail, is for a male. Arshklo can be translated directly into arsy hole. That word, however, does not differentiate between the sexes. It simply is. Saumensch do Dreckigs. Liegel's foster mother shouted that first evening when she refused to have a bath. You filthy pig, why wouldn't you get undressed? She was good at being furious. In fact, you could say that Rosa Huberman had a face decorated with constant fury. That was how the creases were made in the cardboard texture of her complexion. Liesel naturally was bathed in anxiety. There was no way she was getting into any bath or into bed for that matter. She was twisted into one corner of the closest like washroom, clutching for the non-existent arms of the wall for some level of support. There was nothing but dry paint, difficult breath, and the deluge of abuse from Rosa. Leave her alone. Hans Huberman entered the fray. His gentle voice made its way in, and if flipping through a crowd, leave her to me. He moved closer and sat on the floor against the wall. The tiles were cold and unkind. You know how to roll a cigarette? He asked her, and for the next hour or so, they sat in the rising pool of darkness, playing with the tobacco and cigarette papers, and Hans Huberman smoking them. When the hour was up, Liesel could roll a cigarette moderately well. She still didn't have a bath. Some facts about Hans Huberman. He loved to smoke. The main thing he enjoyed about smoking was the rolling. He was a painter by trade and played the piano accordion. This came in handy especially in winter, when he could make a little money playing in the pubs of Molching like the Knoller. He had already cheated me in one world, but would later be put into another as a preserved kind of reward, where he would somehow manage to avoid me again. To most people, Hans Huberman was barely visible, an unspecial person. Certainly, his painting skills were excellent. His musical ability was better than average. Somehow, though, and I am sure you have met people like this, he had the ability to appear in the background, even if he was standing at the front of a queue. He was also always just there, not noticeable. Most important of a particularly valuable. The frustration of that appearance, as you can imagine, was his complete misleadings. Let's say there most definitely was value in him, and it did not go unnoticed by Liesel Mimenga. The human child, so much cannier at times than the finely ponderous adult. She saw it immediately. His manner, the quiet air around him. When he turned the light on in the small callous washroom that night, Liesel observed that strangeness of her foster father's eye. They were made of kindness and silver, like soft silver melting. Liesel, upon seeing those eyes, understood that Hans Huberman was worth a lot. Some facts about Rosa Huberman. She was 5 foot 1 inch tall and wore her browny gray strands of elastic hair in a bun. To supplement the Huberman income, she did was the washing and ironing for 5 of the wealthier households in Molching. Her cooking was atrocious. She possessed the unique ability to aggravate almost anyone she ever met. But she did not love Liesel Memenga. Her way of showing it just happened to be strange. It involved bashing her with wooden spoon and words at various intervals. When Liesel finally had a bath after 2 weeks of living on a Himmel street, Rosa gave her an enormous injury inducing hug, nearly choking her. She said, Saumensch drew the cakes. It's about time. After a few months, they were no longer Mr. and Mrs. Huberman. With a typical fistful of words, Rosa made, now listen, Liesel. From now on, you call me Mama. She thought a moment. What did you call your real mother? Liesel answered quietly, Osh, Mama, also Mama. Well, I am Mama number two. Then she looked over at her husband and him over there. She seemed to collect the words in her hand, pat them together, and hurl them across the table. That sokol, that filthy pig, you call him Papa. Worse states. Understand? Yes. Leisure promptly agreed. Agreed. Quick answers were appreciated in this household. Yes, Mama. Mama corrected her Saumensch. Call me Mama when you talk to me. At that moment, Hans Huberman had just completed rolling a cigarette. Having licked the paper and joined it all up, he looked over at Liesel and winked. She would have no trouble in calling him Papa. यहाँ पे हमारा चैप्टर 2 फिनिश होता है. यहाँ पे चैप्टर 3 द वुमेन विद द आयरन फिस्ट. थैंक यू वेरी मच. आपको कैसी लगी मेरी रीडिंग बताइए. इसमें क्या चेंजेस करना चाहिए वो सब बताइएगा. कमेंट्स में ज़रूर बताइए. एंड थैंक यू वेरी मच. बाय फॉर नो फ्रेंड्स.